And away we go. It's the Awesemo Early Bird, the DFS show that you need to listen to every morning. It's Dan Stratford, Dave Lockren getting you ready for today's slate of 7 games on a Friday, Lofty. It's weird. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I felt like, and I get it, Major League Baseball was much more. You get 14, 15 games no matter what. But for so long, the NBA, it was 10, 12 games on Friday. And here we have a 7-game slate and looking forward to it, really.
Oh, I'm stoked, man. Yesterday was 4 games. Yeah, I feel a little bit sketchy on this one. You know, it was a weird slate. Obviously, we're still recording as games are going, so we don't know what the results of the Golden State Milwaukee game are going to be. But it was nice to see, we got the Paul George results that we wanted. That was certainly nice. Tell you what, forget about the other results of anybody else. Can we just for a moment talk about how ridiculously bad this Houston team looks? I mean,
they're terrible.
They got blown out by OKC. I get it's in OKC, but there's no Russell Westbrook. You have Paul George, Dennis Schroeder, and your defensive anchor, Steven Adams. But, I mean, that's it, man. That's it. There's no bench depth, especially with Schroeder in the starting lineup. And you have Harden and Capella and Chris Paul, and you got a team. It's incredible that they can't stay even competitive in a game like that.
So what I'm finding amazing about this Houston team is their pace. Their pace is in like the
23rd. Yep.
So I am a Knicks fan. I almost said I was a Knicks fan, but I am a Knicks fan.
I'd understand if you weren't.
Yeah, that's fine. Living in Massachusetts, Brad Stevens, an attractive coach. I would like for him to coach my team sometime. Is Carmelo Anthony that much a harbinger of bad NBA basketball that he?
Great question, isn't it?
Like, amazing that
Let's
they
not
could
forget he went to OKC first, and wasn't exactly a smash hit there.
I'm blown away by Houston. You've seen Dan Antoni talk about
Antoni.
I got San Antonio in my head as I was saying it, so
we'll get there.
It went terribly awry.
What's Giannis's last name?
And Antetokounmpo. It feels so good. Let's talk about was it Ryan Archidinakio? No. Not kidding.
Archidinakio.
Yeah, sure. He's a Nova guy. You got to know his name. Yeah. Like you get kicked out of the city otherwise.
I just let Adam go on the deeper dive whenever he says it really quick. So like no one notices.
Anyone who listens to this pod
knows
I say Giannis or ABC or whatever.
Yeah.
I
said that on the deep dive. I was like, yeah, Dan stopped calling him Antetokounmpo and just Giannis.
There was definitely some T's in there for a while that didn't belong. It's so funny. Nolan Arenado
in there, not just
Nolan Arenado was a name that somehow or another I was saying Nolan Arredondo for ages.
That's inexcusable.
My buddy Joe, who I've talked to you about before, co-hosted with him over on Sirius, been buddies with him since high school, was like, Dan, what the hell are you doing? He's like, there's no way.
You got to correct that.
And like when you finally look at it, you're like, oh, sure. It's like misheard lyrics. When you finally hear the real lyrics, you're like, oh, how could I be this stupid for so long? And think that's what it was. But
you got to pass on Antetokounmpo though.
Yeah, it's a rough one. He's good at basketball though. The pace of play there for Houston has been probably the biggest confusing moment for me for how they've struggled. It's this what was it, 7 seconds or less that D'Antoni was in Phoenix, and then I know it went away a bit with the Knicks, and they brought it back a little bit with the Rockets. Their pace was always up, and they were always taking 3-pointers, and they were
strange.
So one to keep track of. We have 7 games here tonight. Dave, I know you were looking before we started recording about injuries. There are ones to keep track of on any slate, but it seems like they have been racking up a bit over the past couple of weeks that have really affected where we've gone. This slate seems to avoid it for a large part. Dragic and who else?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. Like you have Dragic, and that's like the one that is real meaningful. But Dwayne Wade, I see him listed as doubtful, but other place I'm seeing him as out. Birth of his child. So that's relevant for sure. But dude, especially if Dragic is out and Wade is out again, I got super low ownership on Ellington the other day at 3,100, and good thing because I had some Jakob Pertl, and I was like, you know what, let me swap to Ellington, and that worked out pretty well. 37 minutes. I wasn't giving him 37 minutes. I was giving him around 28 minutes, but we'll take 37. It's funny because he really hadn't been playing. Spoelstra hadn't really been playing him much, but if those two guys are out, Wayne Ellington at 3,700. Look, this is the type of guy that can, after a 33 fantasy point game, you know this, go out there and just completely dud, give you 13 fantasy points on 2 for 8 shooting, and it can be really ugly. But if those guys are out, there's no doubt that we're going to consider him. Aside from those injuries, we know that who is it? I just want to make sure that we know that Jeff Teague is already out, right? And then aside from Jeff Teague, there's really nothing really of note. Damari Carroll is probable with an ankle. Jonathan Isaac is out with an ankle. Paul Millsap is probable with an ankle. Goran Dragic is questionable with an ankle. Mike Muscala is out. His whole face is busted up. And then, of course, Dwayne Wade. But everyone else, ankles, man. It's the ankles.
Muscala's face was busted up by an ankle, so it all is
by an ankle. Yeah, Markelle Fultz kicked him in practice.
Exactly. Let's go position by position as we always do here on the DFS Early Bird. If you are not yet a member of Awesemo.com, one, what the hell are you doing? But two, you can use the promo code Early Bird to get 1 week free, and that is access to everything over there on Awesemo.com. Gets you Slack chat access as well, and that's really where the sausage is made, as it were. Really, honestly,
no excuse not to do it.
The conversations all day will at least open your eyes to some plays, get you an idea of how to lineup construct and so on. But further, you get access to Josh, you get access to Dave, to Adam, you get to talk to Spags and Emac and the whole crew. You get Eddie there in chat. So there's going to be plenty of access. So if you're not yet a member, you can use Early Bird as your promo code. Don't forget also the NBA Strategy Show, Josh plus Lofty, Josh plus Adam every day, Monday through Friday, getting ready. They go for 60, 90, 120 minutes getting ready for each slate, breaking it down. So you want to check that out. And then you get the deep dive at 5 p.m. on big slates. And then you get, of course, the live up until lock show. So lots of content over there on YouTube as well. Point guard. Is Derrick Rose for real? Is this happening? Like, is this really, really happening? That Derrick Rose is becoming what he was 4 or 5 years ago, pre-crazy Knicks tenure and injuries and off-court issues? Or is this a guy that's a mirage and we're just sort of getting the best that we'll get from him all year right now?
This is real, man. I think it's real. Like, I legitimately think it's real. And here's why. It's not just like Derrick Rose is getting lucky. Do we expect him to continue shooting? What's he shooting? 46% from three? No, I'm not saying that, right? Like he shot 7 to 9 from 3-point against the Lakers. You know, I got home from hockey, watched the final quarter of that game, and Derrick Rose was the only exciting aspect of that team. While Jimmy Butler's bricking off balance, just bad 3-point attempts, you have somebody like Derrick Rose who's dropping back-to-back threes to bring the game from 111, 104 to 111, 110 with a minute left. I mean, he is honestly the reason this team has been exciting, and it's crazy because Wiggins, first overall pick. Towns, wasn't he a first overall pick too? All lottery picks. Then you bring Jimmy Butler in. It's like, oh no, it's Derrick Rose in 2018. He's the one that is exciting everyone. And look, whether it's real or not, whether it's sustainable is one question, but here's the truth. Derrick Rose leads this team in usage, Dan. He leads the entire Minnesota Timberwolves team in usage. Well, that says something. Like, that says a whole lot about what we're seeing from him. He's at 26%. Towns is at 23. Butler's at 23. Wiggins is at 23. Yeah, I think it's for real. Not to mention that Derrick Rose, among the active guys, not including Teague, leads the team in assist rate as well. So yes, he's seeing a ton of opportunity, and he's paying it. It's paying off.
It's crazy to see. It's turned back the clock year so far for Derrick Rose, and he is up to 6,800 against Sacramento here. Point guard overall, you have Simmons at the top, Kemba Walker at 9,400 against Philadelphia on the other side, John Wall, Kyrie, Trae Young. Obviously, as always, a lot of these guys have MPE, so you'll have point guard, shooting guard, or in the like of Simmons, and Doncic has been there as well, point guard and small forward. What do you got here? Who stands out? Who are the names that you like the best? Does a chucker like Trae Young have some appeal here against Detroit? Jamal Murray, who's taking a ton of shots at 7,200, or do you find the more expensive Walker, Wall, Oladipo trio to be more palatable here at point guard?
I'll make my way to the top, but let me start with De'Aaron Fox first. De'Aaron Fox is just still too cheap. That's what it comes down to. When you're getting a sub 7K De'Aaron Fox, you can't ignore that. Man, I love what I'm seeing out of him. He's just operating in the pick and roll a lot. That's the type of stuff that you want to see from a point guard, because it gives you, a lot more upside. You know that he's handling the ball a lot. He's running the offense. Even at 75 on FanDuel, I think he's viable. But De'Aaron Fox facing this just terrible Minnesota defense, man. They are so dysfunctional. Jimmy Butler is undoubtedly affecting this entire team. And let's also consider the Kings playing at a top 2 pace, second fastest pace, Timberwolves top 10 pace. But defensively, the Kings rank 20th. The Timberwolves are 29th now. They've fallen all the way to 29th. They've been absolutely terrible. I really think this is a spot where you can get another blow-up game from De'Aaron Fox, and you're getting the guy at 6,900. Don't look too much into his usage isn't high enough.
Right.
That's one thing for a guy that can't give you peripherals, but he's at a 25% usage. He's gotten a 31% assist rate. Those are both quality numbers. And he's not rebounding too poorly for someone of his size either. So, yeah, definitely love De'Aaron Fox here. I really like this spot. I have no faith in Minnesota's defense whatsoever. We don't have a line here, probably because we don't know if Butler is going to play. But my guess, really high total, probably up around 240 actually. And I think you might even see Sacramento favored by a point here at home. So get that in there. De'Aaron Fox, great play. Ben Simmons interests me here. I don't think I'm paying for him, but I do want to point out, and this is something actually Adam mentioned to me yesterday when we were just talking basketball. He mentioned that James Borrego, the Hornets head coach, is planning on using like a 3-man center rotation in order to combat Joel Embiid. Now, to me, it's like, okay, well, why wouldn't you just double him, right? Even though Joel Embiid's been working against double teams, and that's why he's so good. But if Joel Embiid is just kind of getting tortured around the basket, he leads the league in post-up opportunities, Ben Simmons should at least try to take over. The question is, will he? And right now, I don't have enough confidence that he will. If I really thought that he would when Embiid is in some trouble, then I'd be like, all right, load up on Simmons. But right now, I don't have that faith, and that's a problem. Kemba Walker, 9,400. Kemba dropped 37 on the Sixers earlier this season. Real close game. They lost by 2 points. He took 31 shots. I think he's a solid play here. Am I paying all the way up is the question. It's doable. The only real high-priced player on this entire slate on DraftKings is Joel Embiid. Him and Drummond are the only ones above 10K on FanDuel. Him and Griffin are the only ones above 10K on DraftKings. So I think you can get Walker into lineups, especially if Ellington becomes a value play or whatever. But I also think we have to look at John Wall too. John Wall hasn't been as productive. He hasn't had those like monster games like we've seen a few out of Kemba this season. Kemba's gone 58, 60, 51. John Wall's given us a few 50-pointers, but nothing crazy, Dan. I think you get a really solid game from Wall here. Wish he was under 9K, but that doesn't mean I'm going to avoid him here. He's the 3rd highest priced overall player on FanDuel. He's the 7th highest priced player on DraftKings. So I do have interest in John Wall at the top as well.
You have John Wall at a 28% or so usage rate on the season for the Washington Wizards, somebody who is trying to will that team to some sort of cohesion. They've just looked, along with the Rockets, as a bad basketball team to start the year. But maybe Dwight Howard will make that locker room work. Who
Yeah, that
knows?
should help. That
Um,
should help. But this
as
is a deep position. Like
it is, as always.
Jamal Murray.
He's been crazy. He keeps shooting. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not predicting 48 points and 60 fantasy points. By the way, you have 48 points. Pal, you got to do better than 60. Come on
Yeah.
now. Come on. You got to give me a
Shooters
70
shoot, Lawfully. They don't pass the ball.
I know. But, Jamal Murray, like if you look at this team, I would guarantee you, and I haven't looked at it since like the first week of the season, but I would be shocked if Nikola Jokic didn't lead this team in potential assists by a relatively wide margin. Looking it up right now, potential assist, Jokic, 11.1. Murray is second, 7.4. At least he's second. And I like this matchup. I think, Brooklyn's playing decent enough basketball too to make it interesting. So I'm okay with that. It is a 9.5 point spread, but still, I think Jamal Murray is very much in play. Yes, I do prefer Fox at a slight discount. I think they both have a similar floor and actually a similar ceiling. It's hard for me to. Did Murray have a 60-point game? Yes. Can he put up 50 plus? Yes. But we've seen Murray do it too. They both have that one monster game this year. It just the list absolutely goes on. Marcus Smart started. Excuse me, I'm dealing with a sickness over here. Started the second half in place of Jason Tatum. I have to see what that was about. Pretty interesting though. They got like played. They got crushed in the first half by Phoenix, which is ridiculous. Derrick Rose, you mentioned him, his price tag is up. I still think Rose is fine, but I'm not viewing him as a must play here by any stretch. Again, I actually like Murray at basically the same price, but I still think Rose is in play. I don't think we can ignore just how good he's been. So once again, deep position, no question. Lots of different ways you can go, but I'm not sure how much like pure value there is either, like punts. I don't know if this is the position where we want to go fishing for real cheap options.
All right, let's take that as a way to move over to shooting guard, where obviously we do have a ton of MPE. You have Oladipo, Butler, Beal, Richardson. Still, I'm never going to believe what Josh Richardson's doing on the year. I don't really care what's happening, but
crazy.
He has been pretty
Looks
consistent with his output. He's up to 7,400 on the season. Will he, won't he, is the question with Jimmy Butler. Obviously, that affects the rest of that roster and where usage goes pretty significantly. You have Jamal Murray here. Donovan Mitchell is shooting guard eligible as well on DK. Then you get into the likes of Hield, Fournier, Batum, Wiggins, Magruder up here for the Miami Heat at 6K, seeing significant 30-plus minutes on pretty regular basis here. You mentioned Wayne Ellington with Wade and Dragic out. Could be an interesting
Dragic is questionable. Yeah.
Oh, Dragic is questionable. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get into maybe some more questionable plays in the sub 5,500 area. Shooting guard hasn't been nearly as bad, especially MPE helping there. Who are some of your favorite plays here?
Yeah, I was real high on Donovan Mitchell against Dallas because his price was too low at 7,400 on DraftKings. And look, this is not a great matchup for him. There's no question, but he's still underpriced. He's come down to 7,100. I mean, he's 8,800 on FanDuel. So huge disparity there. I know that it's tough to play guys against Boston, but look, it's still a Boston team that's going to be playing their second of a back-to-back on the road. Look, they're a very good team. There's no question. They've actually lost a bunch of games this year, right? They're only, let's see, they're about to lose. They're down 92-76 with 5 minutes left in the fourth to the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. So, I mean, yes, it's probably there's a definite potential that they come out tomorrow and just blow the roof off of this. But I think Utah, is a formidable opponent. And Donovan Mitchell, Dan, it's pretty much just this. He's a shooter. He's got 30+% usage. When he gets going, he gets going. I'm not saying he's going to go out like Jamal Murray did against Boston, drop 48, but at 7,100, you have to consider that, right? You just have to. I get it's a tough matchup, but good players, real good players, they have those games where they work around those tough matchups. So I like Donovan Mitchell. When it comes to Jimmy Butler, it's just really a question of whether or not he feels like playing. I mean, he had a pretty good game against the Lakers, but you go back and watch, like there's clips out there on Twitter where the Lakers scored and the ball needed to be inbounded and Cat went to get it and then like faked it out and left it there and Butler had to go get it. Like it sure seemed like an FU moment. And then Butler did the same thing on an inbound on the sideline. So I don't, it just seems like there's so much internal turmoil here that it's hard to get around it. But look, Butler's facing Sacramento. He played 43 minutes last game. Thibodeau has not by any stretch stopped giving him monster minutes when he is playing. So keep an eye on it. I mean, if he's going to play 40 plus minutes, you have to still consider him. But the position, as you mentioned, is still pretty good. I mean, we talked about De'Aaron Fox. I think Buddy Hield's also a perfectly fine play. I mean, this dude is having this is his coming out party. He's having a really, really nice season. And for the first time of his career, his minutes are actually stable. Look at this, 41, 36, 36, 39, 33, 24. They got blown out by 35 points. And then 26. Close games, Buddy Hield's playing 36 plus minutes, and he's still reasonably priced. So I'm on board. I'm absolutely on board with Hield, and I think this as a game stack makes a whole lot of sense. Bradley Beal is in play if you don't feel comfortable going to like Butler at a little bit of a higher price or Mitchell in that matchup at a lower price. Just so many different avenues we can go here. And we haven't even talked about the cheaper guys yet. You and I have been doing this podcast long enough, not the early bird, but you and I have been doing the same structured podcast together since like 2013 on the same stuff. Shooting guard and small forward, you just breeze through them, no question. Easy, nothing there, especially when DraftKings took away multi-position eligibility. But even if you didn't have it now, you'd still have Mitchell and Harden and Butler and Buddy Hield and Bradley Beal and Oladipo. And that, I'm just naming a few of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a much deeper position, and I think luckily we have MPE on DraftKings because as you've talked about for a long time, positionless basketball is here, and you're getting a lot of these stretch threes or stretch twos even who are 6'6" with a wingspan of 7'1", who are playing a variety of positions, but maybe not 7'1" a wingspan, a 6'8" wingspan, but whatever it is.
Close enough, eh?
There is a definite skill uptick. Are there any cheapies here at shooting guard or ready to move on to small forward?
I think, guys like Marcus Smart are okay. Just really the only reason being that you're talking about a dirt cheap price tag. He's actually come up a little bit since yesterday. He's $3,700 yesterday. But, consistent minutes, not a great matchup, of course, but, he played, 25? He's at 25 minutes now. I don't know if he's still on the court, not watching this one. Watch Boston comes back. I wouldn't be surprised. Ellington, though, if these guys are out, like Ellington's got to be the guy. You just kind of choke it back and plug him into your lineup because it's not often that you get a guy at 3,700 that can play 30 plus minutes and give you 30 fantasy points. And Ellington can do that. He did that in his first start, his first meaningful playing time of the season. That's exactly what he did. So I'm on board if he plays. I really don't have an issue with it. I think D'Angelo Russell's a little bit too cheap. I wish his playing time was a little bit more consistent, but I don't have an issue with him. And then also under 6K, no real punts here, Dan. No real punts that I feel confident in. But also under 6K is Gary Harris. And I think, just again, a pretty fantasy-friendly environment against Brooklyn. And this is one of those guys that his floor seems to be around like the 25 mark, not what you're looking for. But when Gary Harris gets going, he can give you some pretty solid games. And I think this is a good spot, especially if you aren't loading up on Jamal Murray.
Makes sense to me. Obviously, you get Dave doing all this research and writing it up each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every week for the NBA season. That's called The Deep Dive. It's available behind the paywall over there on awesemo.com to get a free week to check it out. So you can use the promo code EARLYBIRD, one word, over there on awesemo.com. Get you a free week access to everything on this site. So let's talk small forward next. Ben Simmons, obviously eligible here. Tons of MPE. Butler, Aaron Gordon. is up to 7,500. Had dropped down into the mid 6Ks where he became must play is a tough word or tough hyphenated word in DFS, but became a very solid play. Now up to 7,500 in this matchup with Washington. Josh Richardson eligible here. Karis LeVert has been dynamic for the Nets, and I know you talked about him and RHJ before the season started. They've both had different ways to start the year. RHJ with the injuries to start the year, but LeVert's been great. He's right here at 7K against Denver. You can then get into Hield is small forward eligible, which seems off, but fine. Tatum, Fournier, Batum, Wiggins, Magruder, my boy, and everybody's boy, Marcus Morris here at 5,900. They give me M. Morris, and I don't look at the team. I'm thinking Markeith's here, and he's over, I think, just power forward eligible on DK. Bielitsa, Winslow, Torian Prince at 5,600. So, again, small forward, maybe a little bit deeper than we've seen in past years. Who do you like the best? Are there ones at the top end that you like, or do you find this as a position that maybe you can save some cash at?
LeVert really has been good. And he's the only player on this team from a minute standpoint that is, averaging like playing time that you can consistently rely on, right? I mean, if you just look at this Brooklyn Nets team, you're getting guys that are, getting their mid to high 20s in minutes. Okay, that's fine. No problem. Most of them are pretty cheap. But you have LeVert averaging 31.6 minutes. Then you have Joe Harris at 30.2. Yes, he's the only other player on the Nets above 30 minutes. And then it's Russell and Dinwiddie and Allen all around 26, 27, right? And then it just falls off a cliff. I think you'll get Hollis Jefferson up there eventually, but he's not. And LeVert is the one guy who's playing meaningful, reliable minutes every single night. And he's been pretty damn consistent. What's funny is, we were talking about how deep shooting guard is. I didn't even mention Zach LaVine, right? I didn't even mention Tim Hardaway. Karis LeVert, to some extent, falls into that category. Now, LaVine going to get you some more dimes. Karis LeVert, not exactly the most polished passer in all of the land, but he is just seeing ample opportunity, and we're going to continue to exploit that. So I think you're right. Karis LeVert is top 10 in drives this season. In the league, he's top 10 in drives. He's averaging 14.5 drives per game. If you're wondering if that's good for fantasy, yes, it's very good for fantasy. Get us as many opportunities around the rim as possible. Be aggressive. That's what I like to see. LeVert is also second in potential assists on the Nets with 8.1 per game. That's also a solid mark for a small forward like LeVert. We'll take that. Let's take it one step further. Karis LeVert, in terms of usage, I don't think it surprises anyone. He leads the team. He's at 27.4%. That's not crazy, but we'll take it. So 27.5% usage, over 8 potential assists per game, 32 almost minutes per game. And no one's complaining about that at all. And then kind of to ice the cake here, Dan, he's got an assist rate above 20% too, actually lower than last year. So maybe we'll see a little bit of positive regression. What I like to see is he's attempting a third of his shots at the rim, and he's attempting 30% of his shots from 3-point range. That's good for fantasy. We like that. I'm liking what I'm seeing from LeVert. Do I love the matchup? No, I have a lot of respect for Denver's defense. But here's one thing we do know, that if they have any intention of staying competitive in this game, they're going to have to jack up a lot of shots. And this is a team this Brooklyn team is taking a heck of a lot of three-pointers. They kind of have to. They're fifth in 3-point attempts per game. Yes, they're averaging more 3-point attempts than the Warriors. They're averaging more 3-point attempts than the Houston Rockets, who, believe it or not, where do you think the Rockets rank in 3-point attempts this year?
I with their pace, I would say in the 20s.
Like
20.
Never mind. I was totally wrong.
Okay.
I filtered that. Rockets lead the league.
Oh, do they really? All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't make any sense. They lead the league, but Brooklyn's fifth. Yeah, sorry for that blunder. They're fifth. Brooklyn is fifth. Yeah, Rockets lead the league, Dan, in 3-point attempts, and they're 25th in 3-point percentage. So that must have something to do with it, right? Uh, yeah, I think Levert's a perfectly fine play. Does he burn me quite often? Yes, he does, but I'm still okay with him here. We'll talk about Gordon at power forward. We already talked about Jimmy. I talked about Simmons. Again, I think it's a spot where Simmons could be really impressive or just not do what he needs to do if Embiid finds himself in a tough spot. Let's talk about Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince, we found out that with Herter out, we're like, all right, Prince is back. He's not on the injury list. We're good. And then it turns out like 30 minutes before lock that Bembry's starting and Prince is coming off the bench. But I kind of like this because Prince played 31 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in the starting lineup, but we'll see. Played 31 minutes. And you're thinking, all right, well, why would we want him coming off the bench? Well, if he's coming off the bench, and that means that he's going to see less minutes, with Trae Young and more minutes with a bunch of guys that just aren't particularly good,
Right.
then why would we not be okay with that? So Taurean Prince in that last game, I believe his usage was the highest in a single game it's been all year. I could be wrong, but look, 31 minutes. So you get your take on this too. 31 minutes from Taurean Prince off the bench. Again, I think he can play more and he might start, but now his price is at 5,600. So it's the cheapest he's been all year long, right? He started the season at 61, 5,600. Detroit is not a scary defense, and now you're going to get Detroit's bench. Taurean Prince had 25% usage, so it's actually lower than his average. That might not even be right. I saw it higher earlier, but you get the point, man. 15 shots off the bench, bad, good matchup, should be a competitive game, and he's down the cheapest he's been all year. He's a guy that I'm gonna play. So if I throw 150 in the $5, I'll probably have at least 20% Prince, if not more.
Makes sense to me. Price point just screams. Again, I play far less lineups, but talking about a player pool.
I only do it if I like the slate.
Right.
I'm not an everyday 150 guy.
No, absolutely. But
around my computer.
It's to me, it's how you start your day, and what I've tried to talk about, what I've tried to do myself is don't limit yourself at the start of the day with your player pool. Get the guys in there that you think are in good spots and good price points. And Taurean Prince is just one of those who screams player pool. Like get him in your player pool, see what works, do a little bit more research as the day goes on. Obviously, read the deep dive, pay attention to the shows that you have in front of you. But the price point just makes a ton of sense right here.
It does. It does. Saric, as gross as it is, he's just been really bad this year. Maybe it's because he's playing overseas throughout the whole season. Who knows? But I think people are discounting how much Mike Muscala's injury influences Saric, right? I mean, Muscala in those last 3 games before his face got busted up in practice, played 24, 26, and then 28 minutes. So 2 additional minutes in all those games. And this was coming close to fouling out in 2 of them as well. And all but one of them was competitive. So he's getting these minutes in competitive games. He's out. Wilson Chandler was limited to 15 minutes last time. Saric with Muscala out, even though Covington played, he played 36 minutes. If you're giving me 36 minutes, even if you're not playing great, I think at that price tag, which is pretty discounted or at least very, very reasonable, 5,000 DraftKings, 52 on FanDuel, that's not a bad price point at all, knowing that Muscala's already sidelined and Wilson Chandler's not going to play more than 20 minutes tops.
All right, let's we'll turn the page to power forward. Don't forget to check out the deep dive from Dave every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Adam has it Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. That is the write-up for each and every slate. Typically, they go position by position, give you the top plays, but also give you some value, give you some honorable mentions as well to, again, expand that player pool a little bit, but overall reducing it down for you and give you some insight into where they're looking and where their player pool may lie. I always get that wrong. Where it may be when lineup lock comes around at 7 or 7:30 or 8 p.m. Eastern time, given on what given slate we're on. We move to power forward. Blake Griffin is up around 10K. Pretty sure he had a pretty crazy dunk finally for the Detroit Pistons. I know they've been waiting for old school Blake to show up.
Posterizing Blake. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know.
And good thing it was good thing I played him at 3%. I'm like, this is great. This is great. Got him at 3%. I don't care about your damn dunk, dude. It's his first like really shitty game of the season outside of a blowout. I had Jaren Jackson at like no ownership. Wendell Carter had a great game. Rose went off. Ellington went off. Everyone else except the two guys that burned. Oh, and Schroeder was great. The two guys that burned me, of course, Paul George. At least I went back to the well.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
And Blake Griffin, who has been nails all season long. Like, you just look at his game log. You want to just talk about consistency. 56, 66, 47, 48. Then there was 17. That was Boston. So we'll scratch that. 48, 82, 61, 45, and then 31. Like, come on, guy. He always burns me. That's I'm upset about that. What are you gonna do?
You let it out.
Not upset. I'm really not. It's over and done with. You got to have amnesia, right? If we're worried about something that happened 2 or 3 days ago. I mean, you know what they say, Dan? You got 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past. You're pissing on the present.
I thought it was just 1 foot in the grave, but that's fine. Let's. Maybe
I only have 2 feet.
Well, you're missing out then. You're missing out.
I just you can't
take that for what you will. You don't whatever I may be implying there.
If you don't have a 3rd foot, you can't really,
Take that. Usually where there's a 3rd foot, there's a 3rd leg. I don't want to get too in depth here, Dave.
Well,
I don't want to get to
it. That's an entirely different story. If that's, hey, you could say if you have foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, you're pissing on your grave. You could say that, but
man, good times.
Third leg, man. You and your dad jokes.
That's not what I would say to my kids, though.
I'm kidding.
That implies.
I would hope not. So, honey, what a 3rd leg actually?
Exactly.
People don't really have 3 legs.
Listen, so in college, this thing happened. Anyway, let's talk through power forward next. We've talked about Blake Griffin, obviously here, and take here against Atlanta. We're one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NBA. 10K for Griffin. You have Aaron Gordon at 7,500, so a stark drop off there. Tatum. Sabonis having a great start to the year, coming off the bench for the Pacers is at 6,300. Power forward has been a bit of a struggle this year. We've talked about it a couple of times, but it is not nearly as deep as we've seen in the past, and it's not been easy to discern which way to go. What do you got for us here on this Friday slate at power forward?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have any problem going back to the well with Blake. And I guess if he's low owned again, I'm just okay with it. And here's why. I broke this down elaborately, in depth, comprehensively, whatever you want to say, in a deep dive on Wednesday. And it didn't pan out. But these are the numbers. And, people always say like process over results. Look, a lot of times it's true if your logic is right. Like sometimes the results are bad because your process sucks, right? So you can't say process over results if you have a garbage process in researching. But when I read you these numbers for Blake, it's hard to turn around and be like, yeah, well, I don't want to play him. Now, again, on that slate, he definitely was the furthest thing from a must play. And I probably could have done better elsewhere. He's pretty expensive and there were a lot of high priced guys. So, I'll take the L on that, but I'm definitely okay going back to him, especially on this slate against Atlanta. So he has the 10th highest usage rate in the league, 31%, but he does so much more. And that's what makes him special. He leads the Pistons in potential assists, the whole team, 12.8 per game. But it gets even better, Dan, because Ish Smith and Reggie Jackson, their 2 point guards, are at 6.8 and 6.3, respectively. So half of what Griffin is seeing, potential assists. And he's actually due for positive regression in the assist department. He has the 12th most potential assists in the entire league, and he's still scoring the 3rd most points per any player in the league. That probably came down since I wrote this. And despite playing alongside Drummond, the league leading rebounder, he is 11th in rebounds in the league. Wow. So all of this stuff points to, now you see what I'm saying, like all this stuff points towards him being a usage monster, being a triple-double threat. And we've seen that all season long. But I'll do you one better, man. It sounds like a sales pitch, right? He's average, and people always say like, "Man, you really sold or you're really trying to sell us on this guy." I'm not trying to sell you on shit. I'm just giving you the numbers. You can do what you'd like with it. I mean, if I think a guy's a good play, I will absolutely tell you.
What's it gonna take for me to get you in to this model Blake Griffin?
I don't take no for an answer.
Exactly.
Right?
You're not leaving this podcast.
Push through it.
Owning.
Exactly. No, but I like giving our viewers and listeners numbers, and then you can do what you want with them. This stuff's fun. So on top of all that, he's averaging almost 37 minutes per game. And the one that jumped out to me the most, Griffin, who is a power forward / center, but really just a power forward, is leading the entire league in touches per game.
Oh, wow.
95 touches per game for Blake Griffin, a power forward. Among all of the shooting guards or all the point guards in this entire league, Dan, it's Blake Griffin who, by more than 6 touches per game over James Harden, who is second, leads the league in touches. Oh, and one more thing, very cool. Griffin, Marc Gasol, and Nikola Jokic are all in the top 5 in touches in the league. How cool? How crazy is that?
It makes total sense from Jokic and Gasol to me. Griffin surprises me. Like Jokic and Gasol, somewhere in my brain, I can make the reference point of them high key being the facilitator in the offense. Griffin doesn't play that role. Like that's not where he's been. I know he's been an assist man.
He's a great passer.
Yeah, it does make sense but in that offense and with that team, with the Pistons, it didn't register, but pretty crazy to see that he is up there so high at the top of the touch list.
It really is. Post up touches, Blake Griffin has the 5th most in the league. Elbow, he's down around like, I don't know, 30th or something. So nothing crazy there. But you look at paint touches, he's also up there. He's pretty much, I'm sorry, not in paint touches. He's actually not in the top 50 in paint touches. He's basically just doing everything. And how do we not consider that?
I'm pretty sure the Celtics went to overtime.
Dude, they were down by 3 with 7 seconds left. They tied it up.
They tied it, yeah.
Oh my God, 100. That's insane. I mean, Phoenix is bad, but come on, dude, hold on to that damn lead. Booker's having a monster game too. But no, that's all it is to it, Dan. Is he expensive? Yep. Could he disappoint you? Yep. 9,800 on FanDuel is pretty enticing. But is he also facing the Atlanta Hawks, the team that leads the league in pace? So you get an up-tempo matchup for the Pistons, who are sitting at 15th, while Atlanta leads the league. But Atlanta, in terms of defense, we know this, they rank bottom 8. I mean, it's tough to get away from, even at this price point with no other guys super high priced. I'm hoping Griffin comes in under owned or under owned because he's crossed that 10K threshold on DraftKings. And I think there's like a psychological aspect where people don't want to pay that much for someone like him, even though it's $200 or $100 more than he was the night before.
All right. Where else are we going here at power forward with the names like Gordon, Tatum, Sabonis, Horford, Morris, Bielitsa, Winslow? Like, it's not exactly the who's who of the best in the NBA here. Are there maybe 1 or 2 other players to throw into the player pool before we move on to center?
You talked about Gordon, right? At small forward a little bit.
Yep.
I think you're spot on with Gordon. You keep considering him. He's a solid play here. There's nothing about Gordon that you don't like. He does have a relatively low floor, and his prices come up a bit, but he's still reasonably priced. He's turned a corner recently too with 39 plus fantasy points. If you round up, he has 40 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. The guy's going to play big minutes. There's no question. He was in foul trouble last game, would have played 34 plus. So Aaron Gordon very much in play here. Good matchup against the just completely punchless defense for the Washington Wizards that ranks 28th behind, or ahead of only the Timberwolves and Cavs. Horrible. I think Otto Porter on the other side of that game is also interesting, though. He's kind of been the forgotten man, but he's got some upside as he's flashed over a couple of his last few games. Marvin Bagley's interesting. And we just say so often how bad Minnesota's defense is, and it's bad. Bagley's definitely a volatile play, and you're not going to want to pay a premium for him, but you don't have to, right? He's seen his price tag drop to 4,500 on DraftKings. If he gets a little bit of extra run here, which is possible given the matchup, sub 5K on both sites makes him a really intriguing play. So I like Griffin at the top. I like Gordon as your mid-range guy. And then there's a couple cheap guys, but no one yet stands out as a great play. And just because, Dan, we don't have a litany of injuries doesn't mean that throughout the day this guy's ruled out and this guy isn't ruled out. All of that is still very possible.
Makes sense. Lots of ways things can go, and that's why you want to stay tuned to news on Twitter and in Slack chat. If you're a member of Awesemo, you can head on over there and get pretty regular updates as things come through on each and every slate. Let's close out with center. As I've said many times over, Dave has the deep dive. He'll do all the research and write that up and get you the news as it happens. So don't hesitate to check out that article and check out Slack chat as you discuss live shows. Again, NBA strategy to start the day. Then you get from A to B, which is Andrew and Ben. That's an A. It's not the A, but it's an A. But anyway, Andrew and Ben talking golf, talking NFL, talking sports at large. And then, of course, you have the deep dive and you have live up until lock. So Joel Embiid, 11-2. It's like he's good at basketball or something and playing in multiple games and playing lots and lots of minutes. Oh, wait. It's finally happening. It's all finally happening for Joel Embiid. Just such a dynamic player. Blake Griffin is center eligible. His teammate Andre Drummond is at 9,600. Yet Jokic, Towns, Whiteside, Vucevic, Gobert, Willie Cauley-Stein, and then Dwight Howard is rounding it out as the above 6K crew right there at 6K flat. Listen, Embiid's a great talent. Price tag at 11-2 doesn't seem all that extravagant, but we're going to have to make some decisions on where we go and where we lean from the more expensive players. And then you do have Drummond, who's had multiple 2020 games. I think he's up to, 5 already?
4 or 5. 4 or 5.
And it's just 58.75 DraftKings points last time out.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Sorry, he came a rebound shy, so he still has 4. Last game.
Oh, that's right. It was 19 rebounds. That's right.
23 and 19. He's averaging almost 17 rebounds per game.
And talking 2020s, I mean, clearly everyone saw it because he was like 1.2% owned. But Hassan Whiteside last time out, 29 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 blocks.
Crazy.
Reminiscent of the early days of Hassan Whiteside, where he was nearly triple-doubling in 18 minutes of play for the Miami Heat. A deep position here at center, tons of upside. When it comes to touches, you already touched on Jokic here at 9,200 as being a key cog. He's going against the Nets. That was a go-to move last year. Seems like a great spot again. Jared Allen's been better on defense. I know the Nets' rim protection has been better on the year, but still Jokic seems to be in a great tons of centers seem to be in great spots. Who are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I will say, though, give credit where credit's due. Brooklyn's defense, they're not that great, but they're playing a little bit better this year. I think what's more interesting, though, which makes them not as good of a matchup as they were, isn't the defensive improvements, Dan, but it's the fact that this year they are playing at the 4th slowest pace, while last year Brooklyn played at the 6th fastest pace. They led the league for like most of the year, and then the last month and a half came down. But last year, this team was 6th in pace. What's really interesting, though, is that their pace was 99.94, okay, and they were 6th. This year, it's 98.84, so not a big difference at all, and they're 27th. Isn't that nuts?
It is a stark drop-off.
It is.
And do you see that to coaching or talent or just a general sense of a different way of doing business there?
It's a good question. A lot of coaches with bad teams will look to speed it up and get off as many possible 3-point attempts as possible. We've seen the Sixers do it. We see the Hawks doing it this year. It's tough to say, but yeah, they're definitely slowing it down. I love Drummond, though, getting back to center. I mean, if you can, I really don't have an issue pairing him with Blake Griffin in spots. They both have immense blow-up potential here. There's what, 5-point spread. They're on the road. As long as this game doesn't blow out, it's really hard it's hard to see Griffin busting. Same with Drummond. And there's no way both of them have bad games. Like, things would have to go terribly awry for that to be the case. I think Jokic is perfectly fine, but I believe I'm actually on Drummond over him. Jokic, as good as he is, can just disappear offensively. His point totals over his last 4 games are 4, 7, 8, and 4. Phenomenal passer, best passer on the team, leads him in potential assists and assists, great rebounder. But with Drummond, it's outside of the assists, you're getting just such ridiculous consistency. 20 points, 20 rebounds. He's averaging 19 and 17 this year. And he can get his hands active. He can get some blocks, get some steals. So I'm on Drummond over Jokic here. Embiid, as you said, it's almost like he's good. Yeah, just a crazy player. I don't think I'm going to him here. I would blame no one for it. I will sprinkle him into tournaments because he does have the potential on this specific slate to break it if he goes off for 68, 70. And it's no doubt that he can do that. He's just a walking monster double-double. But again, there's a few other guys, Drummond specifically, that are in great spots. I like Jokic, just don't know how much I land on because of the depth at the position. Karl Anthony Towns, if every game only had one half, he'd be crushing. But he's been so bad in the second half of games, completely just pulls a Houdini and disappears. But he's still sub 9K on DraftKings, and for that reason, I will remain or continue to look at him because he still has a lot of upside. He's going to play monster minutes, 36 plus. Sacramento's front court defense, rim protection, you name it, does not scare me. They're still not a good D. So, between Drummond's, Towns, I will throw Jokic in there, although I don't love him. Vooch is in a good spot against Washington. But once again, it's where are you going to pay for, Dan? And this last guy, above 6K, well, at 6K flat, that I think we need to mention before we wrap it up. And I'll just say quickly, from a value standpoint, right now, not a position that has anything jumping out at me. Outside of, Willie Cauley-Stein's in a pretty decent spot. He's not value, but I like him. And then it is Dwight Howard. People hate playing the guy. I think everyone thinks that he's just completely dead. There's nothing left. And maybe they're right, but Dwight Howard is still averaging right around the fantasy point per minute. He is playing. So he played 33 minutes last game. The first game, he was not limited. It was a blowout. And then the second game, I believe he got into some foul trouble. So 33 minutes could be the norm. And we know what Scott Brooks, we know he loves driving his centers into the ground, especially veteran ones. Howard hasn't had a big game yet, but he's also faced a couple tough matchups. Well, specifically Steven Adams in OKC. I think you get Dwight Howard here against Orlando at 6K, and he actually makes for a really solid play. Would you be surprised if Howard went for 45 fantasy points? Because I'm not saying it'll happen, but I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
Is there any, I guess it's too early with what offense are running and how they're running. Is there any correlation with Wall and Howard at present, or is that something we need to wait for more data to come in before we can really understand?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because we knew last year how big of a negative correlation there was for Kemba, right? With the hell is his name? I just completely blanked with
Dwight?
Howard. Yeah, I blanked on his name out of nowhere. So, it's a great question and it would make sense, but that's something that I'm going to look up and put in the deep dive because I want to dig into that a little bit more.
Cool. Sounds good. By the way, the Celtics did come back to win 116 to 109 in overtime. Kyrie 39 points.
Nice. I had a bunch of Kyrie.
I have 0 Kyrie. So there's that. But what you can have 100% of is all of Dave's content by joining Awesemo.com. That's by using promo code EARLYBIRD or signing up for the subscription. You can find Dave on YouTube with Josh or Adam, depending on the show, the NBA Strategy Show or the Deep Dive, or Three Fellas Talking Football with Andrew and Ben. You can also find them on Sirius XM, Sirius 210, XM 87, Saturday from 5 to 7, Sunday 7 to 9. Did I get that right this time around?
You sure did.
There it is. And you can always find him at Twitter, Lofty _D, LOUGHY _D. Find me Saturday mornings on FNTSY Radio, talking football from 8 to 10 a.m. Find me on Twitter at Dan Stratford. And of course, Dave and I are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the DFS Early Bird. With all that said, we wish you the best of luck. We hope to see you over at awesemo.com and in Slack chat soon. And you'll get to EMAC and Adam Saturday morning right here on the DFS Early Bird.